Hi, it's Chris here. I just wanted to share with you the details of a conversation I've just had. It was by a guy, or I had a call from a guy who said that he was looking to grow his business and that he'd struggled. He'd got it to about 2 million of revenue actually, so he was doing okay in terms of size for himself. But he'd been at that level for about 3 years and he just somehow couldn't increase it. So what he contacted me and said, could I help him? How could he grow sales? So my question to him was not about what have you tried so far, although we would have gone there, of course, to understand what's working and what's not, and what he's tried and what he hasn't. But it was more strategic than that. I asked him, well, you're about 2 million of revenue now. Where do you want it to be? Where do you want the growth to be? And he said, well, I haven't really thought about that. He had a 20% growth challenge and target for this year, but he hadn't really decided or hadn't really thought about where he really wants to get it. He just wants to be more sales than he has done last year. And the trouble is he's been fairly flat for the last 3 years. And I was explaining to him how not having clarity about where you really want to get to fundamentally affects how successful you're going to be. You see, when we explored it a bit more, he came up with the idea, or he worked out, well, actually, yeah, maybe I want to get to 5 million from the 2 million that he was at so far, and maybe do that over 3 years, 4 years, or whatever would be appropriate for him. And we eventually got to that place because I took him through this thought process, really, this way of thinking. And I said, okay, well, you've got this 20% target for this year, so you want to go from 2 million to 2.4 million, about 2.5 million of revenue. So that's a reasonable growth, of course, 400,000 in a year. But what if it was really, really important to you to grow your business within the next, say, 3 years, maybe 5 years, to something like 10 million of revenue or 8 million of revenue, or something considerably different and considerably bigger than where he is today? Now, I'm not saying he should, and that wasn't his conclusion of what he wanted to do. But the point is, if he thought about getting to something like 8 million revenue, let's say, he would look at how his business is today, and he would look at what it would need to be like at 4 or 5 times the size, and realise that what he's doing today needs to change. He needs to do something fundamentally different. Now, it might be adding more lines or adding more services, or changing the whole business model and going a much more premium, or looking for big corporate clients with larger pockets than lots of smaller customers, depending entirely on what he does and what his business model is. But the point is, there's always a solution. And if he spent the last 3 years at pretty much the same level, then clearly he spent the last 3 years doing similar things that aren't really going to change anything significantly. So the fact that he's got a 20% growth target for this year is better than not having it. But is he likely to really try something and really get a fundamental shift, actually a transformation in his business by thinking incrementally? Chances are he's not, is he? So my invitation to you is to make sure you're really clear about where you do want to get to, because he did, when we had the conversation, I said, well, where do you want to get to? He said, oh, I don't want to go around that process again. I've spoken to a consultant a few years ago, and he was all about where do you want to get to, and putting in stretch targets and growth targets. And it was just on paper, it never turned into reality. Well, no, if it's just doing it for its own sake and saying I want to achieve, for him, a 50% growth or 100% growth just for the sake of it, then no, it's not going to be practical. But if you say, well, actually, it's really important that I do get the growth that we're talking about here, then it's not a question of how can I work harder at what I'm doing now and keep doing more but faster and more effective or whatever. It's going to be something that will change and really transform what he's doing in his business. So my invitation to you is to think about what you really want, what's really important. And if that means scaling up your business to a completely different level, imagine that business having achieved it. What are you now offering to your clients and customers? What type of products and services does that mean? What kind of pricing does that imply that you have to now start to consider? And then you can make a transition from where you are now to where you want to be in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or whatever your own time scale is. So get really clear about where you want to be, and then use that as a trigger to open your mind, because there is so much opportunity out there. There is just so many markets, so many solutions, so many ideal customers for your product or service. Might as well, it's somewhat, I heard a fantastic saying recently, it takes as much effort to build a small business as it does to build a big business. So, and if you can build a big business that's actually easy to run, which is absolutely possible, that's what we do with our clients all the time, then why wouldn't you do that if you've got a goal and a desire to live a life that's free and full of fulfillment as well as financial success? So I hope you take the time and just take the opportunity to think about what you really want. And then if your business was going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 times bigger than it is today, and in a quick period of time, making that transition, what transformation would that imply? What would you need to offer? Who would you need to serve? I'll leave that thought with you. If you'd like to share your answers to that in the comments or questions below, please do that. Do so. I'll read every one. I'll reply to any questions you've got. If you'd like to contact me, you can PM me through this site, or you can email me, and I'll gladly get in touch, and we can have a conversation. So have a think about it. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll certainly be speaking to you again in the future. Bye for now.